Hi, welcome back to my Expo. This is the whole new year, and I find another nice show to share with you guys. I hope you have fun.
It's important to understand that we have a hard time feeling love apart from respect. Love without respect feels like pity, I think, to most men, and we don't want to be pitied. Like, dear God, if there's anything we don't want, it's to be pitied. I said, so as your boy gets older, one of the best things that you can do for that little boy is start to give him a little bit more responsibilities, a little bit more challenges. Have him carrying the groceries from the car. Have him, when he, again, age appropriate, when he's old enough, when you guys walk down the street together, he should be walking on the street side. When he acts in a way that is kind of calls out that protector and provider in him, reward him for it. One of the greatest compliments my wife ever gave me was one time she just stopped me. Man, this hits me every time I talk about it. She just stopped me. She goes, I need you to know that you have done an excellent job providing and being there for this family, and you make me feel safe. Brother, I am telling you that was the only compliment I needed for a year. It's not the only one I got, but right, it's all I would have needed, right? It's all I would have needed, because I get so much sense of that meaning and purpose from my faith and from, providing for my wife, providing for my children. And so I think a lot of it has to do with giving men challenges intellectually, physically, emotionally. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to take the same path, right? But I think there is something to be said for that fact of overcoming something that required great mental and physical strain to do. Because once they realize that they can accomplish it, especially if they've had to fail a couple times before they accomplish it, that's a mindset shift. And that mindset shift, even if it was something minor when they were 12 years old, that plays into other areas of their life. And so I think that's really important for both men and women, but I think a lot of times it manifests itself different in the examples that you use.
So that was something that people around these men could be doing to improve these men's lives. But what if you've existed for 18, 19, 20 years and you didn't grow up with a father figure, and you feel like yourself always going after these short-term pleasures, living a hedonistic lifestyle, and you're not where you want to be?
Yeah.
So what can you do for yourself to change, rather than maybe, the things around you putting the blame, not blame per se, but responsibility on them?
One of the most empowering things you can do is actually take responsibility for your own actions. And I mean that even when you're not responsible for some of your circumstances. I put it into two, there's an overcoming mentality, and then there's a victim mentality. I have known incredibly wealthy, privileged people with a victim mentality. Their life will always get worse as a result of it, because they're constantly looking for somebody else to blame with respect to what's going on. I have seen other people that grew up in conditions where they were legitimately not responsible for the crap they went through, but their attitude to the whole thing is how can I improve my situation? And that's not to say that they shouldn't be able to, to really talk and discuss the things that happened to them, but their response to the things happening to them was, what can I do different? When you adopt that sort of mindset, it changes the way you look at things. And the mindset change is what is so important. Now, what do you do with that? Once you take responsibility, what do you do? I think there's 5 categories for all of us, men or women. I think there's a spiritual component, there's an intellectual component, an emotional component, a physical component, and a professional component. So the spiritual side, I mean, look, this is a long debate, and we can have it all day long. But I think we're starting to see the resurge of this idea that what you think about God really, really matters in your life, whether you completely dismiss it, entirely, or you actually have a faith that you appeal to. Because what that does is it provides you an objective framework for truth and morality. And when you have an objective framework that exists outside of you, it's not just about what I feel like doing that day. It's not just about what gives me hedonistic pleasure. It's about the fact that there is a right and wrong, and I want to be honorable. That's incredibly important. The intellectual side, nothing prevents anybody from reading books, watching podcasts, listening to people that you admire and respect discuss ideas, because men should be intelligent. You shouldn't just be strong. You should be intelligent. The emotional component has to do with being able to regulate your emotions while at the same time not shoving them down so far that you're unable to actually demonstrate them in a way that makes sense. I remember there was this interesting interview where a man was explaining to a female psychologist, because you talk a lot about opening up with your feelings. He goes, well, I'm going to tell you right now, the women in my life are the hardest on me, not the men. My wife, my daughters, they'd rather see me die on top of my horse than fall off of it. He goes, what do you do with that? And that's a tremendous amount of pressure because I never want to be seen as weak. And yet we got people, oh, you need to be vulnerable. I don't want to be vulnerable. So how do I deal with that? My wife said something once that really struck me. She goes, I don't need you to be weak, honey. I need you to be tender. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. And it wasn't that I was not tender with my wife and children, but it was this idea of trying to articulate what does it mean to be emotionally mature as a man? Because there are some burdens that I'm supposed to carry. There's some burdens where I'm not supposed to stop everything I'm doing and have a good cry about it. I'm supposed to get the job done. I'm supposed to protect. I'm supposed to provide the stability, the calm in the storm for my family. How do I do that if I'm weepy all the time? I can't. So there is a degree of us compartmentalizing when appropriate in order to get the job done. The question is what happens when we go back into that box and pull it out and start talking about it. And I think some of that emotional maturity comes from understanding the difference between weakness and appropriate tenderness toward people that you care about, and then finding people that you can trust to discuss things with and to work out issues because you want to be better for the people in your life that matter the most. The physical component, again, I regardless of where you are as a man or what your life goals are, some people are going to end up, working in finance. Some people are going to be, Navy SEALs. Those have different physical requirements, but the data is in. And getting out and doing physical exercise, lifting weights, doing stuff like that doesn't just have physical benefits. It also has intellectual benefits as well. It has enormous health benefits. So I think, again, to be the sort of man that can protect, that can provide, you want to be in the shape to be able to do that. And then finally, the professional. It has never been easier or cheaper to develop marketable skill sets. I think that is one of there's so much trashing of the internet right now and social media and everything else, and for good reason, right? There's definitely harmful things that take place, but social media is neutral, right? It can be used for good, it can be used for ill. It has never been easy to educate yourself on a wide variety of marketable skill sets, and to be constantly looking at learning and finding ways that the things that you're learning, the capabilities that you're developing are not only beneficial for you, they're beneficial to other people. Because that's the beautiful thing about the marketplace. You really want to get wealthy, you do it by actually providing things of value to other people, and then they provide you value in return. And so looking for ways to actually do that and learning how to do it, never been easier, but it's a continuous process. So those are the 5 areas that I tell people, like, look, if you focus on these 5 areas, regardless of your circumstances, you are not going to be disappointed with where you end up. You're not going to be disappointed with the progress that you've made, even if it doesn't always yield the immediate returns that you want.
Yeah. And what do you say to the people who lack motivation to do that?
So this is where
you
discipline.
guys gonna watch the full show. It's so interesting. You can learn a lot. Have a good night and subscribe, like, and comment. Bye bye.